Hi, and welcome to another fine edition of On the Spot. My name is Ronnie Wiley Jr. To my left is a friend of mine. He is the Magic Man. Yeah, that's you.
That's me. Ron, thanks for having me.
I'm excited to be here. As we were talking about before we started the show, you and Sean Compton were about the two people that inspired me to do this show, because we got two hometown boys who went away and made it big and still come back and contribute to our fine little community known as Connersville here, and we're glad to have you.
Thank you. It's a pleasure. Boy, Sean certainly went on to wield a mighty big sword in the field of entertainment.
Absolutely.
Behind the scenes mostly, but sometimes even on the scene, and
Yeah, absolutely. So you're here. Sean's going to be out here very soon as well. And Rusty, I got to tell you, I'm always amazed every time I see your show. I've never seen the same show every time I've seen you.
That's true. You won't.
So
even if you see exactly the same order, the same set, you're not going to see the same show, because there's so much audience participation. Right. Things can rapidly turn into chaos. Yeah, hopefully in a funny way.
Exactly, and that's what makes it fun. Kind of makes it scary for you, because you're at the will of the people as well.
I am. The audience. When I was a kid in theater, starting in John Connor Players, the very first thing I did, Civic Youth Theater, was a play called The Pied Piper. My grandma woke me up one morning and said, "Hey, it's summertime and there's this youth theater program. You've got to go do that." And I did, and that was kind of the start of everything. That they told us there is no such thing as a bad audience, only a bad performance. That's clearly not true. and we can prove it, but I mean, it is a good audience can make a show much better, and a dead audience, stoic audience, can certainly make you wish you went into dentistry.
You've had those, obviously.
I have, sure.
And how do you deal with that?
Well, different ways. To be a performer means that you're remarkably insecure, and you have to have people love you even if you don't care about them. That's pretty much the definition of performer.
I think that's a great definition.
That's pretty accurate.
Yeah.
Oh, but he's on stage and he's so confident. No, he's not. He is so desperate for attention. This is what it's resorted to. So sometimes if you have that stoic audience, it just makes you work harder to try to grab them. I'm going to win these people over. They are going to love me. They're going to be lighting candles in my name. That's part of what you're thinking. And then other times there comes a point when you realize it's just not going to happen. And so you kind of turn it into a fun little rehearsal and start doing jokes for yourself. It's happened. Yeah. You've done theater before.
Absolutely.
Do you ever do the fun things where only the cast knows about it?
Oh, absolutely. You have to, especially, like you said, if there's an audience that's, or they'll laugh at the wrong times, or they'll not laugh at all. It's like, okay, well, we got to kind of amp this up a little bit to keep us alive, to keep us going. So absolutely, I would, if all the directors that have directed me before, I've really never done that.
I used to say the difference between amateur theater and professional theater is in amateur theater you rehearse for 6 weeks and then you run the show for a weekend.
Right.
In professional theater you rehearse the show for a weekend, then you run it for 6 weeks. Okay. So we used to we'd find little trinkets, and we used to play a game at Bear Creek Farms. I did variety shows there for years. And the cast, you would pass a trinket, a Gumby doll, a little card, something. And the rule was you had to pass it in front of the audience. You had to pass it from one performer to another, but the audience could not see it.
Right.
So it'd be just something as simple as like, "Hey, really good to see you," and you'd like tuck in the back of their shirt, and then at the end of the week, we were dark on I think Monday and Tuesday. Whoever ended up with a card had to buy like Cokes for everybody. You do it just to break up the monotony of the.
Oh yeah, because people don't realize that when you, and again, that's why I asked if you do kind of the same show, because after a while, even for you, it kind of, okay, I'm just going to go through the motions, and then we kind of lose that connection with the audience. So you got to do something to keep it fresh, keep it going.
Yeah, and I think for a variety performer, I wish that I said this, but I didn't. I heard Penn Jillette say it. To a variety performer, the idea of the movie Groundhog's Day seems like a good thing.
Right.
Because you can just run that over and over and over to get that reaction. So yeah, even though there's some routines that I've been doing for 32 years now, if I went back and watched them, I'm getting off track a little bit. A guy contacted me a few weeks ago who was stationed in Iceland. He was in the Navy at the time when I was there in 1992. And he said, I was going through some old videotape.
Oh, I remember you telling me that story.
And he sent them to me, and I just started to, I'm going to give him a shout out, I just started to kind of watch through them, and it's so funny to see yourself in 92, not only the way you dress, and the way you look at the routine, you go, oh, it's changed. That's really, when did I lose that joke? I should put that joke in. And then you're also thinking, well, but I have a new joke in there. That it's kind of interesting to go back and take a look at yourself all those years later. You learn a lot.
Right, exactly. And, there was one on YouTube where back in the day, when we worked together at the radio station, you did that big stunt at the old, where Greenview Pharmacy is now.
Yes, the deadly dozen coffin of doom. Yeah,
that was, and I was standing right next to your mother. I remember that, standing right next to your mom, and you're in that coffin, and
it was for Dub Pontiac.
Yeah, right.
It was a promotion for them, and I was shackled, nailed inside a coffin.
Right.
The coffin was strapped down to the ground with like a big target over it, and the idea was, I had 12 seconds from the time it took a big pickup truck to drive the however many distance and bust through it. We had mats laid out, so I had a place to dive, and so the truck takes off and thing blows into a billion pieces.
Yeah, and your mom's like flipping out. I mean, she's
my mom's flipping out. My grandma was there. My grandpa was there. And
we thought you were dead.
Yeah, the driver of the truck gets out, takes off the helmet, and it's me.
It's him.
It was a trick, and I didn't tell anybody that was going to happen. My mom didn't know. And in the background, you can hear like my mom kind of break, and everybody's rushing. The paramedics are coming in, and my mom's like, and if Grandma had a little bit of a heart attack, sorry, Grandma.
Yeah, it was amazing. I remember that because I kept thinking,
fun.
How did he do that? Of course, you try to replay everything in your mind. Well, how did he get from inside that coffin? There had to be a trap door from somewhere.
Yeah, there was a trap door in the pavement. We actually had people think that there was a trap door in the pavement. It's hot mix asphalt. Somehow we got
tunneled underneath.
Right, we got the city to dig a hole. Right, yeah, we figured all that out. Yeah,
well, it was amazing because I've always been a fan of magic.
Me too.
I would love to be. Of course you have been.
But I mean, even now, I still
you have to be. I'm sure there's people that you still, and we'll get in that here a little bit later in the show. Who are your inspirations? Who inspired you? Who inspires you now?
Yeah.
But there's always that. How did he do it? There was a kid today watching your performance. He was always going, "How did he do that? How did he do it?" And I ask myself that question all the time. And is it too late to learn?
No, it's not too late to learn. In fact, it's probably easier to learn now than it was when I started in 1984.
Wow.
No internet, no videotape, no DVDs, certainly no DVDs. And so it was all about books, driving to magic shops, talking to old guys, learning little subtle things. But if it makes you feel any better, about every 10 years, some university gets a grant to do a study. In fact, some neuroscientists just wrote a book called, it's either Sleight of Mind or Sleights of Mind. It's a good read. The smarter you are, the higher your IQ, the easier you are to fool in magic.
I would love that. It's got to be thrill for you to be able to see the wonderment.
Well, it is. What I'm doing close up at a restaurant, if I show up at a table and say, "Hi, I'm here to do some magic," and they'll say, "Oh, watch out! This guy here is a physics teacher." I know he's easy.
Yeah.
I'm gonna hurt him, because smart people look for really complicated things.
Right.
And magic is usually, there's some exceptions, usually it's like stupid simple. It's so simple you think past it.
Exactly. And I think that's my thing too, is that I look at that and go, okay, maybe he did, you know what I'm saying?
An invisible wire, an electromagnetic field. And then a kid will go, because kids are hard to fool, a kid will go, he just put it in his pocket. Well, that's correct. I just put it in my pocket. That's correct. That's exactly what I did.
But how did you put it?
Right. You got to keep people kind of mentally, but it's performance. And that is really kind of what got me started. I wanted a way that I could do a one-man show where I didn't have to worry about other people not making it to rehearsal or making it to a gig. And I thought, how could I do it? And I was working. I spent a couple weeks each summer working in a place called Guntown Mountain Amusement Park, Cave City, Kentucky.
Oh, wow.
I just heard, I've verified this, that political correctness has forced them to change it to Funtown Mountain.
I would imagine now.
Because, you
can't say gun.
All right, because that's a dirty word apparently. And they had a magician. I did stunts. I got shot off of a horse and hanged in part of a can-can show. I did some stuff. And they had a magician. And I saw this show probably 3 times over 2 years. And no offense if he's watching. Every time I saw the show, I thought, man, this guy's terrible. Not the magic. I couldn't figure it out. The magic fooled me, but he had like zero personality on stage. And I thought, if only I could learn the tricks, I could interject enough jokes and enough interaction, because that's what I wanted to grow up and be Johnny Carson. I wanted to be that kind of performer. I wanted to interact. I thought this would be a great vehicle. Magic will be the instrument I play to get the reaction, because I always wanted to do comedy. My inspirations as a kid were Steve Martin. I think Steve Martin playing a wild and crazy guy until I wore the grooves out of it. I thought that was brilliant.
Arrow through the head?
Arrow through the head. Wild and crazy guy. Played a banjo and just did off-the-wall kind of prop stuff. Robin Williams was amazing to me. The Carol Burnett show, I would be glued to the television.
Absolutely.
Late night on Channel 4, WTTV would sometimes play Jack Benny, and I would be glued to the Marx Brothers movies. I watched these like documentaries.
Right.
And when the Tonight Show would do their anniversary and they'd show the best, I thought, Carson can just take lemons and make upside down lemon meringue cake.
Absolutely.
It was, so that's what I wanted to be able to do.
So it wasn't really magic that, I mean, you were bitten by an entertainment bug at a young age, and it was just, magic was something you fell into.
Yeah, magic was kind of a means to an end. A lot of magicians, there's a bumper sticker I see occasionally at magic conventions that says, magic, the hobby of last resort. And I think there's a lot of people that want to be performers and they can't play piano and they can't tell jokes and they go, well, if I can learn to do magic tricks, and they don't go very far because magic in and of itself is interesting, but it's not necessarily entertaining.
Right.
And hopefully, also you'll see a lot of magicians, unfortunately, that do this. I know how this works, you don't, I'm fooling you, and I don't like that adversarial.
Right.
So you've seen enough of my shows.
Right.
I'm in the middle of just this circus.
Right.
And sometimes things are happening in spite of me, not because of me. It's not like, and I got this right. It's like things are falling apart on me and I'm dropping stuff and the other person's getting it right and I'm messing it up.
Right.
I think that self-deprecation is...
And I love that. That's what I love about your show is that you make yourself the butt of the joke.
I do, yeah. Usually, almost always.
Yeah, and I love that, especially the performance that I saw. You would turn away and tell the kids to do something and they weren't doing it right, but you didn't know that because you were not looking.
And I think they're caught up or ripping the paper. You'd have to see the show ripping the paper, not knowing that she actually I think that's that kind of ridiculous. You remember Harvey Korman on?
Exactly.
I go back to Carol Burnett. Harvey Korman he was constantly cracking up at things that were happening around. And that was one of the things that I learned at Bear Creek Farms. There's probably 5 people that are directly responsible for me being able to actually make a living in entertainment. And one of them is unquestionably Buddy Graff. He was the producer of all the vaudeville shows at Bear Creek Farms Dinner Theater in Bryant, Indiana. And he saw something in me and kind of took me under his wing. And after, he really gave constructive criticism. A lot of people think constructive criticism is, you stink.
Right.
But Buddy would say, like, I really liked what you did there. Think about this next time. And one of the things he taught me was to make the audience think they have seen something special.
Right.
So even if you purposely mess up and do it every time, you kind of break character, break that fourth wall, and look at the audience and like, oh, can you believe this just happened? Those moments sell a show.
Right.
And that's what the Carol Burnett, Harvey Korman cracking up, that was rehearsed.
Right.
They knew that was going to happen, but the audience is going, he's cracking up again. They're in on the joke now, and that makes the audience feel special.
Yeah, and that's what I love about your shows is that you do pull the people in, you make them feel special, no matter their age, size, whatever.
Right.
When you do a show, obviously you said you're going to do a different show. Well, first of all, how many tricks do you have? Do they even call them tricks?
Oh, the trick's fine. The trick, I would say, is the magic effect that you're doing, making a card disappear, let's say. The routine is everything that goes around explaining why you're making this card disappear in the first place.
How many routines?
Okay. I have little index cards. I'm so pedantic. I'm just such a nerd. I have a bunch of index cards that have the name of the trick, what kind of trick it is, and like the music I'm going to use for it. And when I'm preparing a show, I will sit down on my living room floor and start tossing the cards out. And then you start ordering them. Okay, well, that uses an audience. That one doesn't. This is just me. And I get it all together. And then I create my show order with the music.
Right.
So that stack of cards is growing and growing. I'm going to guess in my working routine, my little corral right now, let's say 50 routines. Now, that doesn't, but probably over my career, 250 maybe. I don't know. I'm just guessing at this point.
So there's something you retire. Maybe
yeah, something like that. Right. That just that's run its course. Right. I did a thing once with a Polaroid camera that just doesn't mean anything anymore, but it may again.
Yeah. Well, Polaroids
could come back.
Yeah.
It could.
That would be a trick for the kids. Hey, look at this! I can take a picture and it would come out.
But of course, they have no idea. Right? It's it's not magical because they don't get with digital technology now. They have a device in their back pocket that literally has the answer to everything.
Yeah, that's true.
So it's a little different than when we were kids.
Yeah, exactly. Which, gosh, I kind of miss those days. But so you have all these you sit down and how long does it take you to come up with a show?
Sometimes it's very simple, 10 minutes. Sometimes I will lament over it for an hour until you finally say, that's it. This is what it's going to be, and then you get the list together and pack it. But that doesn't mean it can't change on the fly.
Oh, sure.
Today, for instance, I kind of in my mind thought about what today, but this is being filmed on the day I did the show for the youth community youth day. I kind of had in my mind what the venue was going to look like, and I realized that there were a couple things I couldn't do because of angles. Not that people would see the secret, but they just wouldn't get the routine because you have to be straight on to see what's happening.
Sure.
So you have to kind of punt a little bit once in a while. Just like bands or anything else, or just even your grocery list. Sometimes you go to the store expecting to buy one thing, they don't have it, and you kind of improvise.
Yeah.
We'll do this instead.
And that's where your variety show, all that stuff comes into play with your experience. Now, again, going back to the show, you did talk about the secrets. I'm
not telling you.
No, I figured you wouldn't. How does someone break in? I mean, because there is, obviously, you have to reveal. And I used to, even though that I watched that show with that masked magician.
Oh, the masked magician,
I'm sorry, I hate to be
let's talk about that. That's great.
But still, it still doesn't take away the specialness of what I'm seeing.
It doesn't. Okay, so how do you break in? Do you remember as a kid, some of you will remember as a kid, before the internet, if you didn't know how to spell a word, you would go to your teacher and say, how do you spell whatever word, Massachusetts? And they'd say, well, look it up in the dictionary. I don't know how, it starts with an M, but where do you go for, how do you, it's that kind of catch-22. You got to know how to spell it to look it up. But if you, okay, so that is a great question. So the way you do it is, in my day, you would go to a magic store and you would hang out and you would buy a trick, a $5 trick. And hopefully the guy would be cool. And I had great Dick Stoner in Fort Wayne, Bill Brewy, and Bill Pryor in Cincinnati. They would go out of their way and teach it to you because they wanted you to do it correctly.
Right.
Then you would come back and say, look, I've been working on this and this. And once you would prove to them that you were really giving it at least an effort, if not succeeding, then you get pulled in a little bit closer and you get a little bit more. So you keep moving from the outer rims of the circle to the inner sanctum of the glorious magic experience.
So basically, they want to see how well you love it.
Sure, that's it. You don't want to give someone, if you're a math teacher, you just don't give them the answers, you help them. And when they show that their skill is increasing, their understanding, you
a little bit more.
Right, exactly. You kind of feed them.
Well, and I said brotherhood, but sisterhood. I've seen some female magicians. It's amazing. Now, again, what we saw today, again, taping it during the youth thing, you do grand illusions. I've seen you do that. Of course, we talked about it earlier, where you get ran over by the coffin.
Right.
But I've seen you do that fast illusion where you're tied up in a thing in a coffin. Well, I don't know what that thing's called. It's a thing. He's tied up in a thing, a wooden thing.
Illusion builder, I'd like to buy a thing, please.
And he knows exactly what you're talking about.
Yeah.
So you get that coffin thingy, and they tie you up, and then your assistant stands on top, and then they bring up and then pull it down, and it's you. I love that.
Your memory of that, it is the fastest illusion in the world. It is technically called metamorphosis.
Okay. That makes sense.
Word to change, but magicians call it a sub-trunk, a substitution trunk, because that's exactly what happens. That's one of the first illusions. Let's talk about what an illusion is. An illusion versus a trick is like the difference between a lake versus a pond, a mansion versus a house. A trick is something small. An illusion is a trick that uses either a person, a massive object, or a large animal. So let's say if you make a quarter disappear, that's a trick. If you make a Buick disappear, that's an illusion, even if they're done exactly the same way.
Okay.
So it's simply the grand thing. So yes, metamorphosis, one of the very first illusions I did, and we did that illusion thousands of times. I do a couple of different versions of a cutting a lady in half, kind of a woman torture illusion. One is themed to the Twilight Zone. You may remember that.
Yeah. Okay. Right.
Manhattan Transfer's Twilight Zone theme. It looks like the Twilight Zone now. A levitation, a spirit. Yeah, some of the bigger stuff that you kind of need to do to get the big gigs. But the truth is, people don't remember so much that you cut a woman in half or that you vanished on stage and reappeared at the back of the auditorium.
I love that.
What they remember is that stupid rope trick. They remember, I've had people decades after I was at Bear Creek Farms not remember that I literally vanished on stage and reappeared at the back of the auditorium. They would say, you look familiar, you were the magician. Aren't you the one that took that girl's bra off? That's what they remember, the bra trick.
Well,
a $25 magic trick available at your local magic store, and they remember that
then
instead of the thousands of dollars and numerous rehearsals of Like a Big Illusion. It's funny.
You talk about that. When I was on a Carnival cruise ship back in 2005, I was with my oldest two kids, and a lady did that. She went from the front of the auditorium to the back of it, and it was so amazing. I got, of course, that's how do you do that?
Sure.
But it's almost fun to keep the mystery. It's almost fun not to know. But it's got to be fun to deliver that as well. It's got to be fun to do that and to have people be in awe of what you do.
I'm not sure that awe, yes, I see what you're saying. I'm not sure that awe is, I'm sure some magicians perform because they want that, ooh. Right. I want people to say, that was a lot of fun. I mean, if I can amaze them at the same time, great. But I want them to be happy. I want them to go, that was so cool. Right. Not so much amazing. Amazing's good, but that was so cool. It was so fun. I want them to feel like they are kind of in I do a routine that I came up with for the Magic Castle, and it is a prediction. It's a movie theater. I love movies, and so it's a deal where somebody picks a movie theater, someone picks a movie, and there's a marquee, and we reveal that it's all right, that this prediction was correct. Okay, so a lot of magicians, I think, would say, like, I made this prediction, I got it right. But the way I set it up is I say, it's true, going to the movies with my friends is one of the greatest joys I have. I love it. And since you're all my friends now, we're going to go to a movie, but we make sure we're at the right movie, the right theater, the right time. We go through this. So at this point, the audience and I are in this together.
Right.
So it's not like me versus them. It's we are all wanting to make sure this turns out right. So we're all part of this experiment. And I try to do that with the illusions as well. Like, I'm the one up here, but we're all in this together. I try to. And it doesn't always, and there's some cynics that are just, they just.
Yeah, you're always going to have that no matter what.
Right.
Yeah,
or they try to come up with a solution that is almost always wrong, often absurd, like a trapdoor in the pavement.
Right. Yeah.
Kids at high schools going, there's a trap door in the bottom, and how do I get into the gym? I'm on a gym floor. Well, there's a trap. Yeah, when they built the school, they put a special
because they knew you were going to do that. No, I'm telling you, from the time when I saw you get ran over and it was you driving, and I was standing next to your mother, I kept rewinding in my head trying to figure out. I thought, well, maybe the truck was specially
right. Yeah, it's a hologram.
Yeah. Maybe there was a trap door in the truck. It was amazing.
Right.
I'll never forget that. So again, you mentioned some of the people that inspired you.
Okay.
And again, it sounds like magic was something you fell into, and it's really taken.
Well, no, I liked magic as a kid. I got magic sets for kindergarten. Mm-hmm. The Marshall Brodeen TV magic set. Magic is easy once you know the secret. But you messed around with it. But when I really jumped into it at Guntown Mountain Amusement Park, the magician had a little magic shop, and he sold tricks. And one of them he sold me was a really professional, $25, which seemed like a lot of money to me. 16. It was a really, you borrow a quarter. Anyway, it's a really, and I went home and I really practiced it. And I decided this is what I was going to do. So I dug up all these magic kits that I got for Christmas, and each kit had 30 tricks, and like 2 of them were good and the rest were terrible. So you get those 2 and these 2, and you really work and practice, and my whole show fit in a briefcase, and my stage name was Dr. Illusion for about 6 months.
Wow.
Yeah, and so everything fit in a briefcase, and I did kids' birthday shows for like $10 a pop, and I thought I was rich.
Yeah, that's back then. It was,
and that was 32 years ago, and now I'm making like $25 a show.
Well, hey, you're moving up in the world.
Yes.
Yeah, maybe someday hit 30. Yeah.
Well, let's not get pretentious here.
Yeah, right. So, well, first off, I think we've talked about this before. You don't create your own illusions, right? You buy them or see them, or
right. There's 3 kinds of disciplines in the magic world. There are people that create the illusions; they invent them. There are people that build them, and there are people that perform them. And if you can do one of those well, then you're pretty good. Not too many people can do more than that. So I'm very happy buying a John Gahn-made, Jim Steinmeier inspired, these names don't mean anything to you, illusion, because this guy works for Disney, he's an Imagineer, he knows how to design illusions. John Gahn is the Cadillac builder of magic, and I am happy to pay them to give me the best possible instrument that I can play.
So do you perform it in front of them, or do they give detailed instructions? I mean...
Well, that's it. You know what? The illusions don't really come with instructions now I think about it. That's funny.
Well, because I would almost,
You just kind of know. I mean, if you buy a guitar,
Yeah,
you don't
they
get
have-
instructions. Just
that?
here's your guitar.
Well, I thought you'd get where they show you how to hold the fingers and this
A
is
little
an A
chord chart.
and-
Yeah, maybe.
No,
No,
I thought
that's
maybe
fine.
they had, I thought they may, okay, you want to, come from this angle or make sure the audience is, you know what I mean? I don't
Maybe one of the illusions I purchased, a levitation. I think it did come with a videotape that kind of explained how to do it, but I'm not sure. Card tricks and things will come with instructions, but by the time you're up the illusion, well, first of all, you're talking to the guy. I want it to be this color.
Right.
I want it to be like this. No, I want that chrome, not nickel, whatever. You've had enough conversations that you kind of
know what's
and then it's up to you to take it and say, I'm going to do it this way, or I'm going to present.
Rehearsing,
yeah, instead of right, I'm going to show it empty first, and then, or whatever you're going to do.
Do you have friends that you show it to see if it works or if they can? Okay, I saw that trick.
I saw the flag. You turned around. There was a reflection. Whatever. Yeah. I do. There are people that you kind of, but there comes a point. Yes.
Call Rusty.
You'll be my audience.
I want to be your audience.
But there comes a point when you have to do it. You have to sink or swim. Right. And at some point, you've got to go.
What do you do when you start singing?
You kind of joke around in a great big circle and then go on to something else.
Yeah, that's what you got to do. So you again, you have you have your show. Who inspires you today? Is anybody that's out there inspires you today?
No. Yes, I mean I'm trying. I mean, mostly they're people that are all dead now. Mostly, I mean, I still am a huge fan of the Marx Brothers. I think that is just some brilliant comedy.
Right. Well, great comedy is timeless.
It is. I mean, it's that way for a reason. But who inspires me? Are there some really good performers out there now? I was fortunate enough to see Robin Williams in about 2003 at Purdue. Mm-hmm. That man inspired me to be a better performer. He did an hour and 15 minutes, dripping wet, came off stage, came back on, did a 15-minute encore, and killed and was on the entire time. And he
was special.
Yeah, he was special. I miss him a lot.
Yeah, very, very special. Magician-wise, of course, the big names you got. If you're a Penn and Teller, you have your Penn
and Teller, excellent. I think the best comedy magician, pound for pound, working today is a gentleman named Mac King, originally from Louisville, Kentucky. He performs at Harrah's in Las Vegas. If you get a chance to go see him at Harrah's, the show is. First of all, he's actually very funny, and when you get comedy magicians, you either get them that are typically kind of funny and not great magicians, or they're a great magician but not very funny. Mac King is a perfect yin and yang blend of both. He is excellent. I can't recommend him. Penn and Teller doing stellar magic and beautiful presentations.
They're one of my favorites because I like how sometimes they reveal it, and it's so simple.
And they reveal it, and then they hurt you by making you realize they didn't really reveal all of it.
Exactly, right. There's always some elements that they keep.
Yeah.
You travel a lot. I mean, you have another show that you're going to today. Mm-hmm. Thankfully, we had a little bit of window here for that. How many days a year are you on the road?
Okay, I used to be on the road a lot more. For years, I did 42 weeks a year. I'd be gone on tour. Last year, I think I did 347 shows, but sometimes 2 or 3 a day. Now I've been able to work things out that I'm almost home every night now, almost.
Oh, that's good. Yeah. That's good. Before we go, it's almost time. I mean, this 30 minutes goes quick. I got to show you a trick that I came up with, and I want you to tell me what you think.
Okay.
Okay. You may have seen it before, but you've never seen me
classic
do it.
magic is always great.
That's true. So you may. Okay. I'm going to take my finger off, because it just. Now tell me that. Now, Rusty, help. I don't know. Rusty, it kind of hurts.
Oh my God!
Can you tell? Isn't that amazing?
That's wonderful. There's my competition right here.
I mean, I'm telling you, that's wow. Rusty Ammerman, where are you going to? You got to keep us posted. Let us know what's going on. Next time you're in town, we got to watch. So if you're anywhere in the area,
can I plug my website?
Please plug your website.
MagicManRusty.com. Also Facebook, Magic Man Rusty. Find me, and I try to keep. I'm not very good, but I try to keep events posted where you can come and see shows. Maybe Hoosier Park. Maybe most of the shows I do are private shows for come. But that'd be great.
Magic Man Rusty.
It's me.
At MagicManRusty.com.
Wiley.
That's it. That's Magic Man Rusty, and I'm this guy. We'll see you next month on the spot, Rusty. Thanks, buddy.
My pleasure.
Thank you.